Hi everyone, welcome to Blue Heron Hill. I'm Sue, out in the garden on this beautiful, beautiful fall day. Probably have lost about 75% of our leaves, so peak is way over and gone, and we're preparing for winter. But my garden is still in the production stage. I thought maybe this video would be about my first garden frost, but last night we were supposed to get a frost or a freeze even, but didn't happen up here on my hill. Now, if I went down my driveway and across the street to my neighbor's house, they had a hard frost. But I sit up here, the cold air just drains down the driveway and settles into the little valley down below. And as I said many times, I sit on a large body of water. And that kind of moderates my temperatures a little bit. And I don't always feel the frost that my whole neighborhood seems to get before I do. So you have to be very mindful of what the climate is in your neighborhood, in your particular garden. It may be different than the person across the street. You'll have to pardon all of the noise. Woodcutters are out like crazy. A lot of people around here heat with wood. So now's the time. They're getting ready. They're getting their stacks. Their wood chopped and split and everything, and getting ready for the heating season. We heat with a little wood. We also have a furnace, so there's a little, we kind of do a dual system in our house. But my husband's working very hard all summer long, cutting up wood, so we will be nice and toasty warm. But anyway, back to the garden. There's plenty to look forward to in the fall if you have hardy crops still growing. You can see in the background right here, those are beets. And I've been harvesting those all along, all throughout August and September and now into October. I have probably, 8 to 10 beets left. And they will be in the ground, and I'll be harvesting them over the next, hopefully the next month. I think that they should be able to tolerate the cold. And if we are going to get cold days, like right here, I have row cover on these crops. These are cabbage, broccoli, and cauliflower, and even some Chinese cabbage. All very cold tolerant, and they even can stand a touch of frost. And I think some of these later season crops taste sweeter as you get to those frosty temperatures. You should give it a try. I think I have a video I'll post up here on fall planting and different fall crops that you can grow for this time of year. Probably a little bit too late, but you could always, I am sticking some radishes and some spinach into my green stalks, which are going to go actually into my greenhouse and winter over in there. So I do like to extend my harvest season into the fall, and one way to do it is use row covers along with your cold hardy crops, and that helps them, protects them from some of the more frigid temperatures that at least we get in our area. And hopefully these will last me, crossing my fingers, till Thanksgiving, and if it's mild enough, maybe even until December. I have finished up my tomato harvest. Once the nights are below 50 degrees consistently, tomatoes, things like tomatoes and peppers, they are not going to tolerate any of the cold weather. The fruits on there are not going to grow anymore. You may get one or two that will ripen. For instance, my cherry tomatoes, they're still going, ripening slowly. I picked a whole mess last night, but I've decided that they're done. And as much as I hate to do it, I probably will be pulling all of those cherry tomatoes plants up today. I have a video posted up here on what to do with tomatoes when it gets towards the end of your season to boost the ones that you have left and get them to a ripening stage. And you can always pick the green tomatoes and bring them in the house and they will ripen on their own. One thing I'm doing to extend the crop is any of the root vegetables I have. For instance, those beets. I also have carrots over here. I mulch them up heavily, and that should help protect the roots. I haven't mulched my beets yet, but I will throw some either shredded leaves up around the base of those or some straw. Things like garlic that went in about a month or so ago, that is all heavily mulched also. That should stay there throughout the remainder of the winter, and that will start growing again vigorously when the spring warmer temperatures start coming. And the carrots I have over there in a couple beds over, they are mulched with some straw, and I hope to be able to harvest them over the next couple of months, as long as the soil doesn't freeze solid. So mulching is important in your garden. Once you've pulled up all your crops and your garden beds are all cleaned up, you want all that detritus out of there, all the tomato plants, and don't put your tomato plants in your compost pile. Tomato plants tend to harbor the disease, and they will pass that on to succeeding generations if you put it in the compost pile. Compost pile may not fully kill all the bacteria or the molds or the disease-causing pathogens. So just take tomato plants and toss them in some outside compost area that you're not going to be using for your garden. I have a wooded area that I put mine in. And just use your vegetable scraps and some other garden vegetation for your compost bin. Another mulch is shredded leaves, of which we have plenty. We have acres of leaves coming down from trees, and it's a good resource to use. If you have a mulching mower and a bagger, mulch over the leaves and gather them up and just put them on every single bed that you have. And that will keep those beds from erosion. It will keep the snow and the heavy rains from impacting on your soil and compressing them, so you can not have to worry about compressed soil in the early spring when you want to plant. So mulching up your beds is a priority this time of year. Cleaning up the garden and mulching on top is a great thing to do for the health of your garden beds. Your garden beds will thank you next spring when you start planting your new round of crops. So another thing I like to do is keep a journal. So I know what crops I've planted in what beds just this last rotation. And that's important because some plants will harbor disease that lives in the soil and that loves that kind of a plant. And so you want to not plant that plant if it suffered this year. You don't want to plant that in the same one. So it's good to mark down your beds as to what they had in that location in your garden for this year. So next year, over the winter, when you're planning that new garden for 2026, you have it write down on paper what location you want to put your plants in for 2026. So now is the time, if you have the energy, and sometimes I just don't have the energy for it, but it's the perfect time to prepare new garden beds. Now, if you have raised beds, great time to put in soil, put in amendments, put in even more chopped up leaves and stuff to give them time to start breaking down over the winter. But even if you have in-ground beds or something, you want to start a new in-ground bed, this is the perfect time. You don't have to dig up the sod or anything like that. All you need to do is, I would put down compost down first. I would cover that with paper or light cardboard, wet it down so it stays moist and it has a time to start decomposing. And then on top of that, add some more leaves, add some more compost, and then by springtime, you will have a garden bed that is just ready to go ahead and accept those new seeds and seedlings that you're going to plant in it. So if you have the energy to do it, now's the time to start a new garden bed, if that's what you're looking for. Here's some cherry tomatoes that are still on the vine. This was just an extremely prolific plant. I think it's called peach something or another. Here's one of my tomato trellises that's going to come down. I'm not sure that it's going to come down today. I have to mulch my beets right there. They are gorgeous looking. If you like beet greens, they are so wonderful this time of year with the cool, crisp air. Here is my road-covered brassica bed. I have a bed of onions that I just pulled up, and those are dried beans from my bean arbor, which was right here. This is a Trail of Tears beans that were growing on this arbor up here. And finally, I harvested those. Over here you can see how I've mulched up my carrots right through here. So they'll have a nice warm snuggly blanket around them, so they'll grow fine. Across the way right there, that is my garlic bed. So no first frost garden yet, but almost. I think we're having another call for very cool temperatures tonight. I have a couple beds here that are scheduled for a dumping of leaves and such. Tons of leaves all over the place. We have to get to work on mulching a bunch of those up. Have straw in this bed over here. I had peppers over there before. So I want to thank you for following along on this video. Just a few things to let you know what's going on here. Things are getting colder. I've got to get into my greenhouse, and let's see if you can see my green stalk right there. That one is going to get put into my greenhouse because it has some lovely lettuce on it already that I want to keep around. Now, lettuce is another thing that tastes sweeter this time of year, and it's so easy to grow. Start a batch in September or so, and you will be picking fresh lettuce for your salads in October. So I got a few things to do before the sun starts setting, and thank you again for following along with me on this video, and until the next time that we can go digging in the dirt, happy gardening. Bye.